Hi everyone, my name is Autumn. Welcome to my channel, and this is going to be a bit of a planner journal chat. What has worked, what hasn't worked, what I'm changing, what I'm still processing changing, because I haven't completely, full transparency, I haven't completely made up my mind. A follower on my Instagram asked about my planners for 2025, and I thought, yes, I need to make a video about it. And Hobonichi season is just around the corner. I think we're just a week away now when I'm filming this. So yeah, it's like I said in a previous video about memory keeping and processing, or I think I called it catching up and processing, that I'm, you know, as much as I love the in-between seasons, I have been trying to really embrace the summer and get the most out of it, and really not wanting to think about 2025 and feeling like I'm rushing my life ahead, like it's always about what's coming rather than what is in front of me, you know, trying to be present. So when you're trying to be present and enjoy your days, or you know, just be with your days, you know, not all days are enjoyable, but be them, be mindful, thinking ahead to 2025 when you're only halfway through this year, it just seems counterintuitive. However, Hobonichi season is coming, so the planners are going to drop. We're all going to want to get in there and get the ones that we're ready for. So yes, and the fact is I have been changing my system around, so it has been on my mind anyway, so it's natural for me to go ahead and talk about this. Right, so I did make a previous video about catching up and processing, so I won't go over that, but the synopsis was that I was using an A6 for a long time, then the date, and I also made a separate video about dated and undated. Dated ended up being too much pressure. I went to undated in a stalogy, and then the undated wasn't so fun to fill in, because I find that dated is actually really fun to fill in. For me, it's like coming to the day. I know it might sound ridiculous. That's not a day. That's just something on a bit of paper. But as a journaler, that's what it looks like to me. Seeing a calendar, it's like that is the day, and then I'm coming into that day or back into that day and filling it up with the events of the day, and the, you know, keeping those, filling those memories in there. So having a day's dated, having that journal that's dated or planner that's dated, would actually really works for me. That's the basic synopsis, and I can't remember if I said it in that video, so I'll just go quickly over again that I was using an A6 original for a number of years and was really frustrated that I just kept not filling it up. I just couldn't keep up with it. Now I'm in my journaling groove, so it's working out. However, I did go ahead and purchase the Avec, which comes in 2 booklets for a whole year, and that's really great. If you really make yours chunky, you might like the Avec, so you can still make it chunky, but it's not maybe ridiculous, what you might think is ridiculous. But it was also a great option if you tend to be a planner switcher, because I thought there's a good chance I can feel this, not really because I started late in the year, but you know, get to the end of it, and if I feel it's not working, I can let the other half go, and it doesn't feel like it's now all that on the end that is not filled and just a little bit in the middle, you know what I mean? I can just use the planner for something else. But because I am in my groove, it was working, and I continued with the other half, which I will get to. Things changed though. Then I also mentioned that I was turned to this, the Hobonichi cousin, which I never thought I would buy an A5 because A6 was difficult enough to keep up with. But I ended up loving it. I love the size. I love that it gives you so much more room to journal if you want to. And what I did was, I spoke in the video about how this was my processing journal, and that didn't work because I couldn't get to it all the time. The feelings I had 3 days ago could be drastically different to the way I'm feeling now, and instead of processing those feelings, I ended up just almost rewriting the the days, my dailies, which is just events. It's not emotional processing or even emotional recording. And then what it felt like I was doing was filling in two journals, two dailies redundantly. I felt like I was just repeating myself, and then that became a chore, which is not what you want it to be. You don't want it to be a chore. You want it to be enjoyable. And it also became, well, just a shame that I wasn't actually doing the emotional processing bit. So then two things happened. It's partly because of that, and also partly because of my Hobonichi weeks. Oops, just dropped my fountain pen. So I really tried to plan in here. I say I really tried. I don't mean I did it for very long at all, but I could tell immediately what that something wasn't working, and I was trying to pinpoint what wasn't working. Okay, so Hobonichi weeks, I just love. I love, and I love the idea of it. And I had one last year, and I used it in a very fun way, and then with stickers. And as much as I love how they look, for actual planning, it just wasn't working. I am a journaling girl rather than a planning girl, but I've now started planning, and I'm planning to a certain extent in my life because I absolutely just need to now. So that was a transition for me, and it took time to do that because I am such a journaling person. And part of journaling, part of the joy of journaling, and the motivation of journaling is using it's creative journaling, is using stickers and stamps and all of that for me, which a lot of people think it's just silly, and they think it's just something we do for Instagram, whatever. It's like, no, for a lot of us, that's what motivates us oops, to come into our journals, to come into our notebooks. It's just, that is part of the fun. I'm a very visual person, and that is part of the fun for me. But then that took a transition to realize that I can't do that for planning. For planning, I have to go the absolute opposite way to any of this like fun stuff. Forget it. For planning, it just doesn't work. It's way too busy for my brain. So that was a process, and I gave it a go. I thought, okay, I'm going to buy Hobonichi weeks again, but this time I'm going to use it for planning. And these are the back pages. So I started later in the year, but these are back pages where I'm just trying different formats. I tried where I extended the weeks. So in weeks you have the week at a glance, you have all the days there, and then you have lots of spare notes, which is really, really great. One of the wonderful things about the weeks, it's just really great. So I try things like that, what that would look like. I tried different lines, different columns, what I would use. I tried, I really like this one. This one was quite nice. I like the way that looked. I had just a to-do, and then I had tasks. But the initial ones were something like this. So what I did was put my schedule there, then I put details of the schedule. So this could just be post, and then this would be, what I'm posting. These would be my tasks. And then I was using the Alistair method. Did not work for me. I just found this really messy. And it's not about, the Alistair method, I think is fantastic, but for my brain, I just found it messy, and I didn't find it that easy to see. Like, somebody else might go, well, how easy can you get it? It's just a little cross, but sort of checking what it is, and for my brain, it just wasn't. And these X's just look messy and too much. So although compared to my journaling, this is quite simple and minimalistic, it was too much for me. It was still too much, and it just wasn't working. I was sort of doubling things like priorities, and that, this is sort of working for a little bit. Parts of it were working. I mean, I was using it, and it functioned, but I wasn't happy in it. I tried putting a little to do at the bottom, so I sectioned that off, and that was just a general work to do. Then I started putting down what was ready. I like the idea of having everything together. That seemed really good to me. For some reason, and I know some of you planners will understand, but I cannot explain, the months here don't work for me. I don't know why. It's the silliest thing, because I will get to it with another one, that the months do work. I don't know. Maybe something about these thin. I really, I wish I was one of those people where my brain wasn't so particular, but there we are. I have a particular brain. For some reason, the months don't work for me. So, and I wasn't particularly thinking about the months, I just wanted the weeks, but it would have been great if I could separate some of these things, because it ended up just being too much. So the Alistair method was too busy for me. Trying to put the priority, I had initially thought, and I spoke about in another video, that planning horizontally, which I was doing in a happy planner, was the way to go. So I found that for me, this was the epiphany for me, that planning vertically worked, and then following the plan, I could do this. This was great. And I don't ditch that. The vertical still works, but I'll get to that later. So, but then this was so much to do that I ended up not doing my vertical. So I think I was missing out on the actual planning bit rather than following the plan. I was sort of squishing those two ideas together, which I only just found out separately worked. So you can see I am following it. I am doing things. I really like this simpler method structure. You can see how I've got 3 columns. It's just a lot of writing there. This one was just putting my tasks. So this was the planning sort of bit. This was the to-dos. I like this much nicer. For this, my brain was like, okay, I can see this better. Another thing that happened that I changed that worked, and this is, well, it's not that strange to me, but it might be strange to some of you, is I changed pens. So I use in my planning a friction pen. I have to. I change things all the time, and I have to be able to erase. And I mean proper erase, and all the time, not some sort of, whiteout. I have this larger one that came with the first pilot friction I bought, and it's fantastic. It's just like an eraser. It is an eraser. I had an ordinary friction, and then I found out that they do a friction with a darker ink, and I love a good black ink, I thought. Hang in there with me. So I bought the new friction, which the ink is darker, and then I worked out that it's too dark. Went back to my original friction and found out that was better. It's less harsh. I think visually it's just less harsh, and it works. So although this is the new friction casing, I actually switched the inside to the original, and it was a bit of fiddling to do because it doesn't fit perfectly. So it's not perfect, but I'd like the pink or the mauve. So that changed. That helped a lot. That helped my eyes see things a lot. So it may not seem obvious at the time, but do consider the darkness, lightness of your ink. If you're using black ink or whatever you're using, it could make a difference. If you find it something's visually jarring, that is much more relaxing to my eyes than this really, really black hair. As much as I love seeing that, I like seeing it on other people's, but in using it, the lighter ink. So that helped. Simplifying it helped, but it still wasn't working in some way that is hard to pinpoint. But there's just something about this that was actually hard to follow. I thought this would be easier to follow down, but it wasn't, and there was other information that I wanted to put down, and it wasn't working. Okay, so I'm sort of flipping back between dailies, creative journaling, and planner journaling. I hope that's not too confusing. That's right. So I mentioned the weeks because of how I'm going to change. So a combination of how my dailies were being done, that I was being a bit redundant, and the fact that I needed to plan differently and not in my weeks, made me realize, or made me think of, this next change. So it was a combination of those two things. What did I like about the Hobonichi A5? So what I liked about it was the space. But like I said, I'm still an A6 girl. I still like going smaller. As much as I'm really, really enjoying this, don't get me wrong, I'm really enjoying it. I love the Hobo cousin. If I can find another reason for it, I don't know, but I can't at the moment. Well, this is a writing board I made for myself. So I did love having more space than the Hobonichi A6 was giving me, but I was also in an iron and thinking about the A6 size and the fact that the weeks were not working for the planning. So I realized that what I needed for the planning, let me take that off, for the planning, what I needed was visual space to breathe. I needed to see my days. And I never ever thought, as a non-planning person previously, I never thought I'd be a daily planner. But I always thought at best it would be weeks. But I realized I need to see my days. I don't really know exactly what's going on with the days. And this wasn't enough, because I thought, at first, I thought it was really about my schedule, my posting, my videos. It was all about that and getting that done. But now also that my members group is starting, I realized I needed more details for each day, what I'm doing. And because my memory is rubbish, because I have a goldfish memory, I need to know each day what needs to be done. And even like life stuff, even though I don't write a lot of that down, it's become really, really helpful to write a good amount of that down. So I realized I actually need to daily plan. That is a shock horror to me. I can't believe it. From a non-planning girl, I've gone to dailies. So you can see the combination of thinking about my dailies and where I want to go with that, and thinking about my weeks. So that's not the one that I want to do. It's in here for the moment, but I am getting a different cover. This is a very old traveler's notebook passport. So what I did was grab my current avec, which I'd only just started because it's the next. When does it start? Oh, it starts in August. I think it starts in August, the next one. So I ripped those pages out, which wasn't many at all. Just took them out because it wasn't many. Here I'm having a go how I want to do things. So I'm practicing here different ways of doing things. I had tasks, I had to-dos on the side, I had priorities, and I just start switching things around how I want it done, keeping it super, super simple. These stickers are just, they're like extras when I was doing other things, and I threw them in at the end, not while I'm planning. So I'm just trying it out, and it's sort of working for me. It is working for me, to be honest. I might still change how it actually looks and where I place things, but at the moment it's doing the trick. What the second thing was tasks. So that understanding, I'm not sure which planning system does it. Is it the Covey? Is it GDT? Getting things done, maybe. I think it might be that, where the idea is you have to break things down. And that's something that I worked out through much earlier last year through ADHD understanding awareness, was that the steps to getting something done were absolutely vital. Just saying film that video, that's just a to-do. That's just like a project, an idea. But, you know, I don't know, get the objects out that you need to for that video. Write down what you're going to say. I don't know. I don't do that, but that's why I'm very rambly. But anything like that, you know, clear your table beforehand. All the things that in our brain, especially ADHD or any type of procrastinating sort of person, that they actually hold us up, because film that video, our brains just get swamped with all the steps we have to do just to get to film that video. So if you mark down your steps, you can tick them off, you can see them and you can tick them off, and it's amazing. So I needed steps, I needed tasks. This is sort of different tasks. This is my general to do, and this is my task for the to be honest, the kind of to-dos, but I've just put it separately for the really important ones for the day for my work. So like draft a newsletter, create discount coupons, you know, check the sales page, post. I write what I'm posting there. If it's really important, I put it up here, but I try to keep that clear because it just ends up being a lot. But if I can just write maybe the main thing that I need to do so that it doesn't get lost in here and I don't forget, like I absolutely want, it's a priority, I want to get to that today. So that's pretty good. Secondly, the bottom of the Hobonichis, something that I've put up with for years. I loved this text. I love the Japanese text. You can of course get the English version. I loved it. I love just seeing the squiggles. I love font. I love typography. So to me, the Japanese writing is lovely, and seeing it in there. But after so much daily doing, and in the end, I just end up covering a lot of it. It's a great excuse to use washi, great reason, it's great extra decoration spot, but actually it started to get to me, started to annoy me, because I ended up wanting to cover it all the time or have that space. So it just ends up being, or has ended up being for me, just wasted space. That doesn't mean I wouldn't do it again, I wouldn't use it again, because you can just cover it. But for planning, this was just visual noise, and I knew that couldn't work. Now, I can't think who it was that I was watching doing, I'm sorry, but a few people have done this, and this has given me the courage to do it. And also because I'm an art journaler and I alter books, I don't have a preciousness about ripping books apart anymore. I used to, many years ago, I'd be just horrified, like I wouldn't even dog ear a book. Now I'll rip it apart and make an art journal out of it. So never thought I'd do this to a bought journal though, but I did it. You might be able to see there is no writing down here. And I also want a passport system. So I cut it right down. You can see it's ripped. And obviously if this is horrid and you can't put it anywhere, like in a TN, you can decorate this. I sliced it down here and I sliced it down there, just with a cutting mat and a craft knife. And it worked. I did have this on there, so that's redundant now. It doesn't work. So next time I do it, I might do it just a little bit less, but it works okay. I came really close to some of the double numbers, so I know a lot of you just would hate that and it wouldn't work. If you need the times, then I do lose them on the left. So this is just what works for me. I'm not recommending this to anyone, but if you're not bothered about time blocking, which I absolutely am not, I just use that section, then that's okay for me. You see that it's pretty much fills in. The months, Sundays end up being very, very small, and the note section, if you really like that little section there of the months, then you do lose a good bit of that. You can see I used that and I cut all that off. So it's not, aesthetically it's not perfect, but you can do it. Because what I wanted, I thought I'd do the Stalogy, but no, I want the dates. I want the dates. So this is working really well, and I think I have a week to decide. I'm going to continue with this because I really like it. Then I added to my system the weekly supplement, the Hobonichi weekly supplement. Love this little book. Why is it the weird size? I don't quite know. So it's smaller than an A5, sorry, an A6. So when I had it in here, not in this cover, I actually everything was in here, and then I swapped it to this old TN until I get my new cover. It's smaller than the A6. It's smaller than A6, but it's larger than Passport. So is it the personal size maybe? So a bit of an odd size. I don't know. But because it is a little smaller, it was easier to cut down. So yes, I cut this one down as well. Did I cut it down here? I can't even remember now. Yes, I did the slightest amount. I cut it just a tiny bit, just so then it fits just flush, and on the end as well, so it fits. So this one was more about fitting rather than getting rid of any extra writing or anything like that. Because it is only a small amount, I lose very, very little. And it's very thin, so it didn't take me long at all. I did it in groups, and I use a corner punch to round out just to make it nice again and round it out. So you can almost hardly tell only here because I've actually used it and cut my words. But this is great for tasks. Yay! So I'm breaking down this stuff that needs to do here. So if I say film a video or post something, I've done it. Here is where I do my planning. So my weekly supplement is where I do my planning. I'll say, a niche post, autumn niche for my Instagram, and I'll take the photo, edit, ready, draft it, upload it, anything like that. Got these cute little stickers up here, which were meant for the month. I realised after I started using them, so I won't have enough. But that's okay. I thought that gives me a chance to switch them up later. That's from Cafe Analog. I'll put the link below. Really nice. So simple. I like to see the day. Seeing the day really, really helps for me rather than just this blank. And it's nice and neat with that. But yeah, see, I'll start September with another one. Okay, so this is where I plan. This is where I write down what I want to do and the steps to get that done. And obviously this isn't enough if you've got like a big project and you need to do a lot of steps. This is just my daily stuff that I want to get done that day or prep that day, because that's part of processing. It's not to-dos, isn't completion. It can be prepping, it can be processing, just working on something. So that's working really well for my steps and breaking things down. And this is working so far for my general to-dos. It's looking a bit messy because I just keep changing things and trying things, whatever. But in general, and you can see there's nothing aesthetic and lovely about this. This is really, really super, utterly functional. Something I never thought I'd do, and here I am. And something about a page, something about seeing this space and seeing my day in one day really, really helped. This was one of the things that wasn't working in my weeks. I think if you really love the weeks, I think these two can work together. I think if this works like as you're scheduling, this is great for seeing your week ahead, which is what I thought I needed. Actually, what I really, really love. I do love seeing the week ahead. But the supplement is doing that for me to some extent. Up here at the top, where you can put, say, your priorities or anything you like, but it's generally for that. I've got where I'm posting. So I can look at my week ahead and see the basic schedule. I'm not necessarily following by that, but that just reminds me. It can be a reminder. And then my tasks. And I'll show you what I'm doing differently for my schedule. But this is great, I think, for scheduling. And you could also break all your tasks down here, which was what I was trying to do. I'm not sure why I was holding all the way over there. Sorry. Which was what I was trying to do, break my tasks down. But what it did for me, for my brain, is that this made it too messy. If you're able to do that, if you're able to have lots of writing in one section, then that is fantastic. Break your tasks down, see your schedule on this side. All your to-dos, really, really great. And obviously there's a million ways to use this side, and as there are people. And in some ways, this almost became too much. As much as I wanted to separate things a lot and have a lot of space to see it, it almost was, I don't know. Our brains, they're so interesting. So for schedule, I'm actually using the months. And that's what I was saying about the weeklies. Why don't I, why don't I use the months in there? I can't explain. Something about the size of them and the placement, I don't know. I like that this is taking up especially now that it's cut down, it's taking up the whole thing. That's, I really like to see, rather than I don't know. There's something about this that is just almost too big. The vertical month is sort of weird. It's not really a vertical month, but this elongated month is odd. I don't know. For me, I prefer this. I'm using this to strike out the days. This is an Ohuhu marker, baby blue. And this visually very quickly can see what day I'm at. You can see I'm behind anyway. But oh no, it wasn't baby blue. Okay, I prefer baby blue, I think. Visually, I can just see, I can come and see what day we're up to, rather than I'm searching, what day is it, I can just go, right, here I am. Okay, so I'm not using this like a whole ton because I am sort of on it with this and with the weekly, but I can quickly see it. If I have a very specific thing to do on a day that I want to get done, I often leave this on my table open in the morning, so it's the first thing I see. If my most pressing thing to do that day is to post, then I'll probably leave this open and then I can see, oh yes, post that reel today, you know, that sort of thing. I started doing the colors and I just haven't kept up with it, but I don't know whether I will or not. So I have two accounts. So yellow is for my Hobonichi and pink is for my autumn moon art. And that just helps quickly to see things. So between the month and the weekly, my scheduling is easy to see. It's seeable. My weekly supplement does the breaks down the steps and does the actual processing and planning of it all, and then following the plan, it's in here, and I'm absolutely loving the days. Am I absolutely loving this planner or this or how it's set up? Not 100%, but it is working and it's not offending me. I mean, ideally it would be great if I didn't have to chop one down, but TN doesn't do, Travelers Company doesn't do a daily passport size. I have seen or just come across very quickly some printables you can do from Etsy. I think a few people have created ones. The first one I saw was just too busy for me. So something really simple like this. I mean, it's essentially this planner. It's what I like. It's just the fact that I've got these two columns that doesn't thrill me. And I know it sounds so pedantic maybe, but anyway, at the moment this is working. I'm enjoying seeing things really, really clearly what I need to do. As long as I don't add any more to this, as in, that's it. It's my task, my to-do, priority. If I really, really have to put it up there, I think it might be okay. But the main thing is daily planning is working for me. I think that's enough about that. Okay, anything else I've got to show you? Oh yes, okay, so that's my planning. What about my dailies? So what I loved about the Hobo Cousin is how much space. I love the space to be creative and stick things down. I love that. I like that there's plenty of writing space if I need it. If I don't need it, it's just more fun to have with stickers. So what I'm missing is what I was doing here, I was attempting to do earlier, was the more waffly, I wouldn't say emotional, because that might go in a completely different journal. It will go in a completely different journal. But the more intimate, more personal part of my day, it would be nice, I thought, if I could have both. And I think I said in a previous video that I was going to try and do that, was do my events and then do a little bit at the bottom or somehow put it in there, something a little bit more connected, more I wouldn't say deep necessarily, but more emotional, more personal. You know what I mean? So I'm not just writing the dates, this happened, that the events, this happened, that happened. So events plus personal, without going into deep journaling. So I think my initial idea was, because I was loving the cousin so much, was to break up the page and get that done. Now either I forgot or it just wasn't happening, because in part it's because it's the same issue I had previously, whereas if I'm catching up, I've lost that emotional part. So I'm really just writing the events. Because I have so much space, I can write a little bit more if I want to. Absolutely, I can write quite a lot more if I keep the stickers off. So in many ways I have the option to catch up and just write events. And if I put it together, that means that I'm always going to be catching up on events, and if there's not a whole lot to write, I could just have more fun with stickers anyway. But it's not a journal just for processing that then I can't keep up. For some reason I'm not doing it. I think because I'm just catching up so much, and I was quite behind this week. Every time, isn't it, you think you caught up on the day, and then somehow a few days go by and then you're behind again. So mostly I'm just catching up, and writing the events, but I'm getting a good amount of writing done, so that's really, really good. That's really good to have this space. But as I said in the beginning, I'm an A6 girl, so let me reveal what I've got planned for 2025 as far as my dailies is concerned. This is old. This journal is old to a lot of you, but it was completely new to me. I don't know why I haven't seen it before, possibly because I've not been in the planning community until recently. But despite being with the Hobonichi original A6 for a few years, for 4 years I think, I just hadn't come across this one. You can see this plastic because I refuse to open it. I bought it because I'm so excited about the idea of it, but I really want to give myself the present of opening this up in at least December at the earliest, if not 2025, if I can hold on. This is a lovely cover that I found works for this size, so I will link it down below. I think it's called Ox Night. It feels lovely. It's a good quality one, but it's wide. That's what matters, because this is such a wide journal. I mean, look at that. Compared to like an Avec, even if I had both of these, or the Stalogy, it's about 2 Stalogies. So I'm not going to go through this, but you can obviously Google this or search or whatever. But it is the Hibino. It's the Hibino, and I'm not going to go into it. I'm sure you can have a proper flick through. Someone else will show a good review that they are online. So lovely cover. It's got, I probably won't use that, but lots and lots of space for everything. I like the blue in this case because this is blue, so I've gone with this. What this has is shall I show you very quickly? I'll show you very quickly because I did have a quick look. You can see it's slightly opened. I just random. Okay, what this is pure genius, right? Is 2-page a day. So while most daily planners are either, you know, a week to view or a day to view, this is a day to view, but 2-page a day. Normally it's a page a day. And I think this is quite unique. I don't think there are many other planners like this. So this is 2 pages for every single day. That's why it's enormous. Can you imagine how chunky this is going to be? Okay, so this is what this does for me. If you look at it, 2 pages is roughly the size of a Hobonichi cousin page, which means I don't lose out on any size, any space I have to journal. I know my American friends say real estate. Any space to journal, I don't lose out. I've got it. It's all here, but in my beloved A6 format. So I've got that. Then I have, because it's separate, that gives me a lovely format where I can put all the events here and I can journal here. So my idea is to have a page that looks exactly like this here, you know, my stickers, my little events, my little this happened, that happened, and then over here will be just writing. That's my idea. Now, if I'm catching up, if I'm not connected to the emotions of the day, and I don't want to write anything personal, I can just fill this up with the events. I can add more stickers. I can add, you know, I can do a page like this essentially in this format. You know, I can just put all of that there. I can do my lettering, stickers, write little notes, and I can just fill up the 2. Because I'm obviously this is not what you would buy if you struggle keeping up with the daily. With the A6, just original or the Avec will be enough. But because I'm loving this, then and I'm in the groove, I can fill it up. So what this does for me, as I said, it gives me the beloved A6 version. It helps me separate the events and the emotional side, which I really love, rather than trying to just squeeze that in at the bottom, although that will absolutely work. There's no reason why. I love that it's separated. I'm very much a compartmentalizing person. So events, emotional. I love that. I love how that will look aesthetically in my imagined eye. I love how simple it is. I love that. Look, it goes all the way to the bottom. There's no quotes. Really simple dates. It's in English, so I've got my day already. You can do the weather if you like. I don't do the weather. It rains too much here too. You can write something a little extra up there, something a little separate. I won't need that, but that's not a big deal. That's easily covered or just left. Really, really lovely. The paper is just lovely, creamy. I think it's cream. It looks cream to me. It's certainly not white. It's certainly not bright white. Yeah, look at that. Oh, I'm team cream, as Lindsay Scribble says. Look at that. I love the cream. I love the white as well, to be honest. I do love cream. So this will get enormously chunky. I mean, this will be insane by the end of the year, but that's going to be amazing. I really, really hope I settle in this, because this would be such a shame to just get through a little bit and not carry on. I think I'm in my groove. I think I can do this. I'm loving filling this in. Although, you know, some days it's like, whoa, I've got 5 to fill in. I do get it done, and I'm super, super happy when I get it done. I'm absolutely loving that I'm recording all these days. So I'm in my groove. I think it will work. I have one concern. Well, maybe 2 concerns. One, how chunky it will get may be too much. Like, it could be just pretty insane. My books aren't that chunky, despite that I do add stickers. I don't add a whole, and even photos I add. It's from a mini printer. This one, I'll link it below. So everything is still pretty flat. Obviously it adds bulk, but you can see it's not huge. Mine don't go chunky. My dailies don't go chunky because I don't add a whole bunch of really thick stuff. So that shouldn't be too much of a problem for me. If yours are really chunky, if you add a lot of ephemera, I probably wouldn't advise this. This would just maybe get too much. My actual concern for me is that it doesn't really, it sort of lies flat. One of my absolute favorite things about Hobonichi A6 and the Hobonichi cousin is how flat they lie. For me, for working in them, I mean, look at this. That is just exquisite to me. Obviously, the larger your book gets, that becomes difficult, and that's what we have with the Hibino. Is that now that it's so big, you can see I'm going to have a lot of curve here. So am I going to be able to write? It doesn't have to be an issue in that this is where I can put washi and I can actually start writing a little bit further in, which sort of separates this page. That could be really nice. It can just be with it more the stickers go, but then it can end up being really bulky in the middle. So that is my only real concern, is that, look, in the middle, even if I break it into it like that, this is still a significant curve here. So how comfortable would that be to get into there? I would say I would have to skip at least 1, 2, 3, if not 4 of the columns down before I start writing. But like I said, that kind of separates it quite nicely. Instead of washi, I could get a marker and put a nice color there, something like that. But that is a thing. That is worth considering if that's going to be a problem for you. So it isn't perfect, but hey, 2 days for an entire year, it's going to be enormous, isn't it? I mean, look at the size of that. Love it. And I love that I've got, look at that, a perfect cover for this size, and still has room to grow. So that is my 2025. Just as a bonus, I'll share some other generally notebooky things that I've got going on. So that will be my dailies, and I'll do a whole new system when I get right covers and the new books, but essentially passport size planning. Oh, my cousin, I'm kind of sad for it to go. It would be really nice if I could find an excuse to have another one in for some other way. because I really love it, but because it's dated, it's that sort of thing again. It's like, well, I'm going to have a dated book, so yeah. But there we are. Other than that, I'm happy with my choices. And what else have I got going on? Okay, so this is one I haven't shown anywhere before. I'm not going to go into it because I'll do a separate video. But this is, well, what do I call this? This is collections, I suppose. Lists, collections. Oh, I forgot to mention something. Hold on, I'll get back to it because it's connected. I forgot. So when I switched over to planning in the A6, I think just because this was near me or because I wanted to use it in some way or another, I started making notes. And I discovered I really love making notes in this format. There is something about the size of this, which I think it was something like I used standard TNs years ago as well. And I really liked journaling in this format. There is something about the narrowness of this that makes it feel more immediate, less cumbersome. Like if I got an A4 and A5, I feel like I'm almost writing out a story. Like, you know, it's long, it's great if you've got lots of journaling to get out. You want that space, you want to get it out. It's very story-like. But I don't want that when I'm writing notes, and I want to write things down quickly, even though I could be writing lots and lots of notes. So I absolutely loved it, and of course I love the paper. And I was like, maybe I could use one of these for note taking. So I think they do do they do a plain one this size, Hobonichi? I've forgotten now. So I could just get a plain one, as in it's all just note paper, plain paper, just to do notes in. Or I could stick with the weeks. This is one of the things I have yet to decide, and I need to decide within the next week. I don't need to decide next week, but I want to decide within the next week when I put an order in. What I can do is, because I find that for notes, I am just using the back now, but sometimes notes can be on the day. And if I get into a rhythm of that, and that way it's connected to that week, you know what I mean? Like if you write certain notes that, so for instance, if I'm writing video idea notes, then I might want to write it in the back. If I'm writing notes on, I don't know what, I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know, let's say I saw a video and they gave me some ideas of how to do something or where to buy something. I don't know, I'm just trying to think of, I've gone blank. But you could write it in that week and you can make notes on that week. I don't know, there's some things that are more week or date specific, and you could write, and I could write it in there and have all this space here to make extra notes as well. So that way, you know, if I think, oh, that idea that I was having last month, I could actually look up last month and find it. I don't know if that is actually feasible, if it will make any difference, if I really will make use of it in that way. But certainly the back, I have been loving it. So that's one of the things that I'm processing and haven't decided on when I'm going to get again. Okay, so that's for some basic notes. This is for, so say for instance, I've got, this is where I keep like my pink one. They all have a purpose, each one. And these are from Inkpressions, Good Inkpressions. And I think this was recommended by Lindsay Scribbles, I believe. And I went on their website and I thought, okay, and they do a lot of customization. They use Tomoe River paper, heavier weight, so it's fantastic. Cute little books. You can choose something like 124 pages or 200 pages. You know, there's quite a bit of customization going on. They do these colors, which I love because I love color, but also it helps me differentiate the books and see them differently. So just quickly, I'll show you. This is lists and collections. This is research. oh, this was actually a weekly supplement, which unfortunately I'm not using. I did give it a go when I was trying the weeks and what was working, and this absolutely just does not work for me. And this is ideas, but these are structured ideas, as you can see. So while I might scribble notes in here, anything that I want to now keep, say solid video ideas, or want to break down that video idea and what I want to do, then I would now put it in here. That's that system, which I will go through in a future video. And this is my commonplace, my current commonplace book, or my newest one. And this is by Create with the Pen. These are beautiful little books. Lovely. I mean, they're just cardboard sort of covers, but they're sort of laminated. They've got a nice flexibility. They're thick. You can see here I've got another good impressions book here, a little notebook, and this is like just if I happen to be in here, and then I have something that's more of a personal thought. It's just I can talk about this in another video and my process about it. Again, Tomoe River paper, which I love. Look how thick it is. I wanted a really nice chunky for my commonplace, and yeah, I recommend these ones. Really nice, really nice. I don't know if I'm keeping it in here. I think I will. This cover is just from Amazon. It's a really good price, but you can see it's really nice and wide, and wonderful for the A6. Fits it in there perfectly. Has these little pockets. I can put a link to that as well. So yeah, that's just a few of my journals. I just thought I'd throw them in as an extra. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that wasn't confusing. I hope I explained myself. And I'd love to hear about what you're doing, what you're thinking about doing. Have you decided? Are you still undecided? What has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? What you're thinking about? Yeah, I'd love to hear it. And I also love to hear you just say hi. If you're not a planner person and you just love to come here and, and hang out with me. Thank you so much for watching. Please like before you leave. That really helped me out. See you next time, everyone. Bye.